The more game cartridges a video game system plays, the more fun it is. And the Atari 7800 plays more games than the competition, and they're about half the price. Super games like Ball Blazer, one-on-one basketball, summer games, winter games, Karateka, Hat Trick, Impossible Mission, arcade classics like Pole Position, Centipede, Xevious, Deluxe Asteroids, Ms. Pac-Man, Joust, Galaga, Choplifter, Robotron 2084. All 2600 games like Solaris, Midnight Magic, Football, Kung Fu Master, Move Patrol. The Atari 7800. More games at about half the price.
Alright, Rachel Schaefer back at you, another Twin Family video, and this time we are unboxing the Atari 7800 Plus. Now, if you remember during the pandemic, I actually unboxed a brand new, well, supposed to be brand new, but there was evidence that it wasn't, 7800 console, an original one in the box. Well, this time, sort of a come full circle, but not in the way you think. You see, I waited to get on this one because this is the one I wanted above the 2600 Plus, and because apparently it's supposed to be fixed with a lot of the issues that the 2600 Plus had. And full disclosure, I do have a pre-order in for the Pac-Man edition, so I guess it's a chance for me to screw around with this because Amazon just had this on sale. And basically, the way Amazon had it was pretty much $30 for everything. It was $30 for the controller when it goes for $35. I was going to get the controller anyway. Crystal Quest is $30. I was going to get that anyway. So I figured the console here is only $30. What the hell? There's two items I want to get here anyway, and I get to review the console. Now, one big thing of note, this is completely different from a normal 7800. This is basically like sort of like an emulation platform where there's like a built-in emulator and it uses physical cards. So it does not work with flash cards, so the game drive is out. The Harmony card is out unless apparently you're supposed to be able to use it, but if you program one game at a time, I don't know. I always wanted to collect this for some time, especially since Atari's putting out new cartridges. And on top of that, I did have a sale on this when it first came out. I was one of those people that had it in an order where Atari did the whole, like, for as much as you buy, it's as much off. So I literally had this pre-ordered, and I had pretty much the initial run of 7800 cartridges pre-ordered. And pretty much saved like a couple $100 doing that. But time came and went, the stores started getting them in, and when you know it, we weren't getting shipped our consoles. So the catalyst came Black Friday when they had these available on their site, and the people who ordered these on Black Friday were getting them before the people like me who pre-ordered them. So I canceled my order, and I got a normal 7800 with a game drive, and then was fine. And eventually I got to get around to doing that video showing you the game drive. However, with the sale, I couldn't turn it down. And it also gives me a chance to try out the Atari Plus platform before the Pac-Man edition comes out to see, hey, do I really want this? Am I going to stick with my original 7800? Because every single game that comes out for this now that they're re-releasing, like the brand new Tiger Heli, the new Pac-Man double feature that's coming out, all of them will work on a 7800 no problem. So you don't have to buy a 7800 Plus in order to play them, because they will play just fine on a 78. I just want to test this out, see how I like it. And for the sale price, I couldn't beat it. So first impressions are, the box is a lot smaller than I thought it was. It reminds me a lot of a board game. You know what I mean? Like when I opened the Amazon package, I was like, damn, this looks like a board game box. You sure I got the right thing? So clearly the 7800 is going to be a lot smaller than a normal 78, because the normal 78 would probably be around like from here to here on the box. So I doubt that's how much this is. And we're supposed to get a cart. We're supposed to get the controller. And it's wireless. Whether they have the dongle or not, that you can play it on a legitimate 7800, I have no idea. Or if this is wireless built in, we'll find out. Because I did some research, but not completely. This is sort of an impulse buy. Once I saw it was on sale, I'm like, done. It was actually cheaper, I believe, during Prime Day at $60, but I missed out on that like an idiot. So I had to pay a $30 penalty basically for that. Backwards compatible with the greatest decade ever. Got the Atari logo. Atari video game console. I like the box so far. And let's see the back. Get your pixel fix like it's 1986. Comes with the Atari 70. It's in 3 different languages. Comes with the 7800 Plus, the wireless gamepad, Bentley Bears Crystal Quest, 1.8 meter HDMI cable. I think that's 6 feet. And the same length for the USB power cable. So, doesn't look like it comes with a plug. Although it requires 5 volt 1 amp. So I'm hoping to be able to just plug that into a TV. Because usually, I don't know about this TV in the kitchen that I use to test stuff out. But I know like the LGs, you know, the ones I have here. Pretty much the 4K TVs that you find these days. They all at least have one 5 volt 1 amp port. And those are meant more for hard drives. So there usually is one that's like a 0.5 amp, and then there's a 1 amp. I think there's some TVs have a 2 amp, I'm not sure. But it's meant to use something like this. Assuming it's the same power like an OSSC uses, and if it's so, I've connected it to USB beforehand. So we should have no problem. So we're going to open the box here. Thank goodness for Amazon's carelessness, it's already partly opened. So I don't have to worry about it. By the way, no stickers on the foil wrap for those who want to know. They actually seal their box with a one bit of tape there, which Nintendo's starting to learn to do with the Switch too. Oh, look. Have you played Atari today? Well, it's 7 o'clock in the morning here in Jersey, so I guess I'm about to play it today. So, we open the box, and they have to do it this way, so this way the lid doesn't get into the camera. So, excuse me doing it lengthways. So, yeah, it is quite a bit smaller than the 78 normal one. Now, if I can get this friggin' thing out, that'd be great. Come on. Because it's encased in this plastic, so it's, you know, slippery. So, there's the Atari 7800 Plus, and it's like look at that, it's so small it fits in a box like that, so I can show you. It's basically a baby 7800. I gotta pull out my 7800 because I do have it, obviously. I'm gonna pull it out sometime in this video, but it's like a baby 7800. Like, it's a little bit thinner as far as like width, a little bit, you know, shorter, but it's pretty much, it's got a full-size cartridge slot, and they made it bigger because even the original 7800 has issues with certain third-party cartridges fitting inside. So what they did when they made the 7800 Plus is they actually made the cartridge slot bigger. So hopefully that won't be a problem. You got your power, your pause, select and reset. And then on the back here, you have your 16:9x9 4x3. You have your HDMI, your power, that's USB-C. No expansion port. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. And we have our boards 1 and 2. We have our difficulty switches B and A. And nice rubber feet. I love how they have the cable wrapped around here, because technically if you need a shorter cord, you could still wrap it around the bottom. And it's cool they thought about that, because this is on the original as well. And I have serial number 2505. So there's at least 2,500 of these out there. I guess they haven't been selling as many of them as they thought, because, you know, they've been going, these 7800 Plus has been going on Amazon on sale rather quickly. Because remember, it just came out last November. and you can already find it for under $100. So we have a quick start guide, and yes, it comes with a DB9 and USB dongle, so that is amazing. That is fantastic. And it shows you how to use the wireless gamepad, and you still have to sync it, which, you know, you figured, you know, it's too much effort to come pre-synced. And then you have an instruction manual for Bentley Bear, and is nice and full color. Unlike the original 7800, which, yeah, they had like these weird ass, and see this color scheme is the same on these pages, where it was like really red. It's almost like the only color that Atari could print was red. You know, years before the Virtual Boy, mind you. And we have this smaller box over here. And it does not open from the... Let me see if I can put this box down and not screw it up. There we go. Kitchen's a little bit of a mess because I'm going to be cooking today. So, it actually opens from the top, so you got to take this box out. It would be nice if Atari had where it opened from the top, but, you know, maybe next time, guys. Alright, so I'm assuming this is where all of our accessories are. And oh, that is cute! Oh my goodness! Okay. Now, I know, spoiler alert, because I have the paddle set, that now the 7800 and the 2600 carts made by this new Atari, inside the box, they all come with these little baby sleeves. But it's a baby box. It'd be nice if they had like a replica of what the box was in the back, but it's still a baby box. It's adorable. That is adorable. And no more spring. So it's literally a bare circuit board. Is it beveled a little bit? You know, but whatever. I'm using it on this. So Crystal Crest isn't a new game. It's been around for about, I want to say about 10, 12 years now. I think it came out in like 2009. And what Atari did was, there's this one guy, I forget his name, and I'm sure it'll be in the video. They basically bought out pretty much all of his games, or he was working with them, or maybe a mix of both. I don't know the story. But a lot of their early games, like Frenzy, Berserk, and that's, by the way, that's a big ripoff, because when the cart was originally sold, Berserk and Frenzy were on the same cartridge, and all Atari basically did was split them apart onto two cartridges now. So, should say his name in the instruction booklet. Now that I think about it, maybe in the back. Because now, of course, Atari credits it to themselves, when Atari wasn't the one that made the game initially. Bob the Crescenzo. Yeah, so that's the guy that did a lot of the early games that came out for this and the 2600 unit. Now, apparently, they're doing more games in-house, as we've seen with Tiger Heli that's been flying off the shelves on Amazon. I have a pre-order coming in for that. Asteroids Deluxe was a prototype, I believe. So here we have our HDMI cable. We have our, I'm assuming, yeah, this is the power cable. And they included two USB controllers for some reason. I know one is the power cord for the system. It's weird that they would include two of them. Unless one technically comes with the 7800 Plus. And by the way, here is the 7800 Plus controller. And a little bit more clicky than the real one. And you can definitely tell it's different plastic for these, because the original buttons were a little more shinier. They weren't as springy. So it'd be interesting to see this, and you can see it's blinking already. The indents on the back aren't exactly like in too much, but time will tell like how I play it if it matches up to the other one. And of course you have your dongle for the USB if you want to play this on a PC or a Mister. Ooh, that piece. You don't want to lose that. This is the piece where it screws into the middle. So, one second, these things are always tricky. There we go. So, instead of a D-pad, it basically turns in like a little joystick. And by the way, for you youngins, this isn't new because this also came out for when they put out the controllers initially. Now, America really didn't get these. These were more European. And I know for the European 7800, these were standard. The Americans, we got the Pro Line joystick. And this is what you use, I'm assuming, in the 7800 plus the DB9. Apparently, you're supposed to be able to use that in a legit 7800 as well as a 2600. I just have the legitimate 78. So we'll find out later if that works. So I'm going to put this all together and we're going to boot her up. All right, we have it all hooked up. We have the both wires connected to the TV. Now, one thing I noticed when I was putting in the game, listen. Sort of like a Kung Fu scratchy grip. And it doesn't look like the pins are bent. Because usually when you put a game in the 7800, the cartridge goes toward, the label goes up. But when I put it in, you can hear that noise. And it doesn't matter what position I put it, because it only goes in one way. It only goes in one way. It's not going to go in the other way. But when I put it in, that doesn't sound too good. It sounds like a Kung Fu grip. Sounds like it's scratching the actual contacts. So I don't know if that, I hope that's not normal. Because Jesus Christ if it is. All right, anyway, moment of truth, 3, 2, 1. We got power. And I'm gonna sync up the controller here. Controller's synced up, but I got no signal. Oh, there we go, because I had the wrong input. It says loading game. Now, it does take this long to load. And, of course, it plays at 1060. I'm a 720 60. All right. I can see, because the one I used was up to jump as well. But again, that was the original version, not this version. The only thing that sucks is the buttons are a little too far apart. So you gotta like hold it like weird. Like where you're like almost like holding a joystick. Of course you got the Hello Mother, Hello Father song. And of course the music at the beginning was the Teddy Bear Picnic. Of course. So the buttons being a little far apart kind of sucks. Let me see if I can hot swap the... Oh, I can hot swap the picture to 4:3. Awesome. But yeah, it's just a little... This controller's doesn't really work with this game too much. Because you gotta hold it almost like a stick. And let me show you what I mean by that. So yeah, so basically with this game, because one shoots, two jumps, you think you can hold it like a standard NES controller, right? Like this, but you can't. Because you gotta hold down this button to run, and there's no way in hell that the other part of your finger can jump. So what you got to do is hold down the one button and hold it like this, almost like you're using this controller as sort of an arcade stick. And now you're rocking and rolling. Well, if I can get used to this fucking controls, I'd be rocking and rolling, but not so much. Because I could have sworn to God that the original 7800 pad, you know, the regular CX78, was a hell of a lot more responsive than this. Because, like I said, my whole thing was, well, I got the Pac-Man edition pre-ordered. That comes with a standard Atari joystick, so I'm fine with that. And of course with the switches. And I figured, well, I could also pick up the 7800 pad because I could use it on my legit 7800. I could use it on the Mister. That's the Mr. Pi I have pre-ordered. But playing with Bentley Bear, I don't know if I'm comfortable with this pad too much. I have another game coming in, another legit one that I can use to test it out, the Asteroids Deluxe. But I don't know about this damn controller, though. I mean, I got to the end of the level. That's good, I guess. Alright, so you have yourself a Harmony cart, which could basically be used on the 2600 Plus or the 7800 Plus, provided you flash it with one game at a time. How do you expect to accomplish this? Well, you could do it the old-fashioned way and program a single game onto the cart using USB, but it would erase the multi-menu mode, and unless you have a backup of it or could find it and know how to flash it back, you could break your cartridge. But there's an easier way. Now, on this cartridge, I have firmware 106, and you can see here on Atari Age, it tells you how to do it. So we're going to do it right here and now. First, we take the other SD card out, because I was working on the Vita. As I'm recording this, I'm trying to keep myself occupied so I don't go crazy. So we're going to take the SD card from the Encore. We're going to pop her in. And you see we have our standard SD card for the Harmony cart. Now, I have here, well, wherever the fuck this is, because I just put it here in Never School long time ago. I hate how Windows 11 does shit. I just put it there. So you'd think, I should go there, but it has nothing to do with this. Anyway, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to paste it onto the SD card, onto the roots of the SD card. Now this is important, depending on the firmware version of your Harmony, because either you have version 105 or below, or you have the new 106, and that's how we're going to do this, depending on what you have. If you have 105 and below, you got to rename it autorun.bin. But since we have the shiny new firmware 106, we're going to rename this file autorom.bin. And ta-da! That's all there is to it. So now we're going to pop the SD card back in here. And by the way, what this does is it tells the Harmony cart to launch that game first. So if it's in a system that doesn't have a multi-ROM mode, it can actually run it. So it sucks to have to do, but what can you do? You've seen some of the prices these 2600 games are going for. I remember when you used to be able to get these for like dirt cheap. Like a few bucks, maybe not even that. Now, even Pitfall's like $15 or $20, even for the card. It's ridiculous. But that's retro gaming for you. And the more these modern companies are going to charge $80 for games, the more people are going to go retro. So let's put this into our system and let's get it rolling. Alright, so now we have our Harmony cart with the auto ROM. We're going to place it into the system. Hopefully it doesn't make that screeching noise. Okay, so it doesn't do it for the Harmony, but it does it for the Crystal Quest cart. Whatever. Anyway, let's try it, see if it really does work. Okay, BIOS screen. Let's see what we got here. Now, it's supposed to be Pitfall, remember. No game detected. Great. Wait. Loading game. Yes! It chokes, but it works. Awesome. Now let's see how this piece of shit, because I'm only supposed to use one button. So, let's say this piece of shit works with Pitfall. That is cool. Ah, crap. And you can reset it just like normal. What the hell? You see what this controller did, right? That's sort of the same issue I was having with the Coleco controller. Where it was going backwards. So there's a little bit of lag. Because there's a couple reasons why I did Pitfall. First of all, it's literally my favorite Atari 2600 game of all time. And secondly, it's a really good game to check your reflexes. And the reflexes of a controller, lag, and all that stuff. I'm not saying I'm the greatest Pitfall player in the world, but I'm pretty damn decent. If I put my mind to it, I could score 100,000 easily. And I usually average in the 90,000. And I usually don't fall into the pits so easily, but... And you know it's not falling, it's because I didn't lose my score, it's more pulling myself in. So that tells me that this control pad is not a four-way. That it's more of an analog controller. Yeah, it makes me... I'm nervous using this damn controller playing Pitfall. Because I'm usually able to pull that off almost every time. Now, granted, most of the time I normally play with like a Genesis controller or NES controller. Because they do make those for the 26. Because remember, I don't know if I showed the video, but I have a custom NES controller for the 7800 that works with the game drive. But it's nice to see that it actually does work. Even if it chokes the first time around. I guess because when you do it through the SD, at first it sees it as that multi-game cart, so it doesn't boot. But then, once that detection kicks in, that's probably the reason for the 1.6 firmware on the cartridge, because once that detection kicks in, then it'll fall back to automatic single game. See, I'm not even trying to do that. Automatic single game by going to that backup file. So it'll boot. So it's a pain in the ass, but then again, if you're playing Atari, you know, you only really have one or two games you'd want to... You're not constantly swapping out games if you're playing Atari. You're sticking with one game for hours trying to get the high score, you know, because you can't beat an Atari game. You know, all you can do is really try to get your high score and beat your high score. I mean, granted, there are some Atari games that have definitive conclusions, but you know, the only way you get a definitive conclusion here is if you do a perfect game, and it's hard to do. Very hard to get a perfect in Pitfall. There's many people that have like one short of perfection. I'm getting a little more comfortable with the controller, but like I said, for something like Bentley Bear, like the buttons are way too far apart and big. If they were a lot closer together, then it wouldn't be a problem. See, and I keep trying to grab this damn vine, and the controller keeps wanting to tilt back. And it's not a case of, hey, got to break in the controller. It's more of like, hey, this controller's terrible to begin with. I can see why a lot of people, you know, they tend to stick with the joystick, because it's hard to screw up an Atari joystick. But this one, this controller, just a bad design all around. And I get you're trying, you know, the nostalgia trying to release a controller like this, but I could have sworn that the original 7800 controller, the CX78, the original version of it, I could have sworn it was a lot more responsive than this. So there's one more test that I want to do with the Harmony cart. I want to try, actually a couple more tests. I want to try a supercharger game, because I know that it'll have a lot of bank switching. You know, because remember, it needed an actual adapter to play the supercharger. So I'm probably going to try that. And I'm also going to probably try another game that just does normal bank switch, because this is only a 4K game. I know there's some Atari games that go up to 16 or 32. So I want to try that and see if it works with this auto run. Alright, so now I programmed the supercharger version of Frogger on here, and that came in at 9K. However, it uses the supercharger, so let's see if it works here. So in 3, 2, 1, moment of truth. I'm not expecting any miracles from the controller, but I just want to... Actually, while this is loading, or attempting to load, no game detected. I should see if I could screw this little joystick thingy in. Alright, it's loading the game. Ah! Whoa! Well, I guess that answers our question about Frogger. About the supercharger. Black screen that makes a weird-ass noise. I'm gonna try another game. Probably Fatal Run, because that's 32K and that uses the Sarah chip. So let's see if that works. This noise, I can't hear shit. Alright, so the dilemma with this game is, at least on the ROM set that I have, there's two different versions. There's one that has an SC extension, and then there's one that has the A26 extension. So, I don't know if one will work or both will work. I'll try both. Right now I have programmed in here the SC version, the super chip. So 3, 2, 1, let's power on the console. I noticed something that the joystick clicks down. That's not really a good sign, is it? The build quality of the controller. Okay, so this is the SC version. And we get a bunch of gibberish on the screen. I'm going to try the 826 and see if we have the same problem. Okay, so now I have the 826 version. Let's see if we have any better luck. Oh, I noticed these don't... Nope. Same issue, but different gibberish. Let me try reseating the cart somehow. Maybe. Unless the onboard emulator doesn't work. But you know what's weird? The Stella emulator has been around forever. You would think that it would have used the Stella emulator for the 2600 games. Well, I've got different gibberish. So, I guess that doesn't work. Let me try a couple other games, see if they do work. Alright, so I programmed it now with Junior Pac-Man, which is a super chip game, I believe. It was in the Sarah list, but it's 16K. And I know it was released, so let's see if hopefully we get Junior Pac-Man running on here. Maybe they locked out Fatal Run because they want to sell their 78 version. I don't know. And more gibberish. So there's a lot of games that we programmed that don't work. And this was the 826 version. So I'm not really confident with this damn unit. See, it's one thing. How to explain it? It's an emulation box. Now, if you're planning on buying like their newer games, you know, like your Tiger Heli, your Asteroids Deluxe, or like a lot of, like the Pac-Man double feature, stuff like that, that's fine. That's all well and good. But for something like this where you have a cart that you could program 2600 games on, you throw it at here, it doesn't work. Not so good. And I get it, you know, you want to sell your games. You know, they want to sell the old cartridges to collectors and the retro gamers. That's fine too. But there's a whole bunch of us that have original hardware. Like I have the 7800. I have the 2600 adapter for the ColecoVision. And the 5200. One day I want to get a heavy sixer. You know, so I don't have an actual 26 yet. But we have all these accessories, and it'd be nice to be able to actually use them on something like this. Just saying, you know. I mean, I know these emulation boxes are a thing. I mean, Hyperkin is like the master of them, and hell, they made a Retron 77. And this is basically one step above that because it plays 7800 games. So, and I'm still going to get the Pac-Man version anyway because it looks cool. So, especially for the reduced price I got it for. But right now that I'm using this, I don't have too much hope for the standard 7800 plus because, first of all, the 2600 plus looks like a 2600. It has the dip switches that I'm used to, and it's got that color scheme, so it sells itself. But for this device, this 7800, this unit down here, I already have a legitimate 7800. So even at a sale price, this is sort of waste. Now I can see now why these are going on sale so often. yet the 2600 plus isn't. Because there's always a nostalgia for the 2600, not so much for the 7800. So with the 2600, it's, oh, cool, a 2600, and I get to play 7800 games on there as a bonus. This is, well, 7800 plus is supposed to be advanced, as the 7800 was advanced. And not so much when you have this sticking out down here to the point, it's on an angle and you don't want it to get stuck, where this makes a scraping noise and this controller sucks. Not exactly a worthy kind of, hey, I'm going to put my money behind this. Now, I hope they fix that for the Pac-Man version. I really do, because I want the fucking Pac-Man version. It comes with the 2600 version. It comes with the 7800 version on the dip switch cart. And they're re-releasing some of the Namco launch games for the 7800. Except for Miss Pac-Man. I guess that's a Midway issue. But really disappointed with the standard unit so far. I mean, I know going into it that it was going to be a lot of miss with this cart and this experiment, but I didn't expect the build quality on this isn't the greatest. Even at $90. Because there's no reason why this has to squeak and scrape going into the system. Be it this Harmony cart, I mean, it's got Kung Fu grip, goes in and out without a similar issue. That shouldn't happen. Now, I don't know if this unit was defective or what, but when it plays, it's just the scraping gets on my friggin' nerves. So I want to try a couple of things before I pack this away and conclude this, but so far, not impressed. Alright, so after digging through the Atari library and having to deal with this fucking knee again, got this knee's fixed. Anyway, I found a 16K game that does not use the Sarah chip, and that's Atari Warriors. Now, I know it's going to suck because the 2600 version of it is just horrible, but again, I'm trying to push the hardware and see what works and what doesn't work. So we have our Atari Warriors loaded up. Now remember, the Harmony cart can only do 2600 games. It cannot do 78. So got to keep that in mind. We can't test any 7800 games on the Harmony. Why am I not surprised? So this doesn't use the Sarah chip, but yet it still won't load. Fantastic. So clearly it won't work with a 32K game. It won't work with a 16K game, Sarah chip or not. So I guess 8K is the magic number? Alright, so before I try an 8K game, I found another 16K game that shouldn't have no Sarah. This is Burger Time, and this is, I think, done before the crash. I think this is M Network. So hopefully this will load. I hope. I don't know. No. Of course not. Well, let's see if 8K will be the answer. Alright, here's an 8K game I put on Hero. This should work, right? I mean, right? It's Hero. No. Does not work. God damn it. Well, I guess there's one thing left to do before all else. Let's see if this thing has a firmware update. Because I don't know what came, because this is a late model. I don't know what came out of the factory. Maybe things will improve. Who knows? All right, so we haven't gone anywhere with our testing as far as 2600 carts, and that's sort of the main complaint a lot of people have with this particular unit. That yes, the build quality is better than the original first run of the 2600 pluses. However, the compatibility still sucks. And to Atari's credit, they've put out firmware updates to fix this thing. And you can see I'm on the page right now. And it says a much simpler firmware update process in previous versions increased game compatibility for homebrew games. Not exactly homebrew, but whatever. Paddle support fixes. Glad I didn't check the paddle out. High score support for NTSC PAL retail games and some homebrew games. Other minor bug fixes. You will need to use a Windows 10 or 11 based PC. Oh, great. So, say if you're one of the many who use Linux, or if you use a Mac, you're fucked. You can't update. Oh, dear God. And there's two of them. There's the 26 and then there's the 78. So I guess they're different chipsets. So this is for the 2600. I'm guessing I got to do that when the Pac-Man one comes in. Turn off the power switch, unplug the USB power cable, and I guess it'll, it's got to set the color switch. So that's for the 2600. Now what do we do for the 78? Unplug the USB cable from the power block. Connect the power cable to a powered USB port. Click Next. Holding down the select, turn the power on. All right, so let's start this damn tool. By the way, it's a Google Drive file. Actually, let's just say the hell with it and run it as administrator. So to avoid any problems. And Windows protect your PC. Okay, so we have the update tool right here. I'm doing it along with you. Say click start. Reinstall. So now they don't say that in the directions. So you got to download a quick driver. So already the directions are fucked up. Connect the USB cable from the Atari 7800 to the PC, which is what I'm doing now. I'm glad I'm on camera for this so you can see me struggle with the damn shit. I didn't hear a ting, so I hope it worked. Let me see. By the way, it's while holding the select button. Say select button, turn the power on. Now I heard it. Okay. Update. Now it's putting in ISP mode. And you see the progress bar on the screen. You think it would be much simpler if you could just, I don't know, if they had a USB port that you could stick a drive into. That would have been even better. Let the internal firmware update it like you could a flash cart. Not that I checked, but I wonder if this thing's been jailbroken yet. Power off your Atari 7800. And we did. While holding the reset button, turn the power on. Update. I guess that's how it installs the second part of the firmware. So the select and reset on the firmware update must do different things. Like the reset is this is for the main firmware and the reset is for the bootloader. At least that I think so anyway. Just want to keep it up like this way a game show host. This way, whatever we need to do, at least you're seeing it happen. Update complete. Finish. Okay, so I guess that's all there is to it. Alright, so this is officially updated now. I do want to check to see if there's an Atari 7800 Plus jailbreak. I doubt it, because if it was, we would have heard about it. No. Alright, whatever. Alright, so now it's time to take this back into the kitchen and see how we fare. Alrighty, so the 7800 had its firmware updated. Let's see if anything changes, shall we? I'm not going to bother connecting the controller because, you know. Oh, okay. So it runs on Android. Good to know. Glad we caught that. So it's an Android device. So that really means there's no excuse. It could have ran better. Now it's the same game that we tried, Hero, which didn't work previously. And it still doesn't work. God damn it, you know. Yeah, imagine if that was a cartridge, by the way. Because that's what the Harmony card is acting like when it's in that mode. An actual cartridge. So, no dice. Let's see if this Bentley Bear still works. So basically the reason why it says loading game is it literally dumps the ROM and plays it from inside the system. So it doesn't really, it only uses the card slot to dump the ROM. Obviously the bigger the game, the longer it's going to take to dump. Okay, so at least it still works with the regular cards. So what I'm gonna give up on the Harmony for right now, because there's a couple more things I want to test before I call this quits. As you can see, the kitchen table is kind of a mess, but there's a couple things that I want to check 7800 wise before we move on to the paddles. Now, I was able to pull the 7800 itself out of my box. You can see it's quite hefty. And by comparison, this is, let me move this damn thing. By comparison, this is hella small. I'm trying to get it to stay so you can see what I mean. But look at the size of the 7800 Plus compared to a real 7800. That is wild. But this is an Android box and this is the real thing. So I'm not expecting too many miracles. So I wanted to get that to show you before all else, and also that the wire wrap is on the bottom of that too. So what I want to show you are two things. Firstly, this is the NES controller that I was referring to that is built and wired for the original 7800. So we're going to try that to see if it works on the 78. Also, this little miracle is called the Mega 7800. And you can get this at Stone Age Gamer. Not right now, because as I'm recording this, it's sold out. But when it's back in stock, you owe it to yourself to get one of these, even if you don't have a game drive. Because what it is this can use your Sega Genesis or Master System controllers on a 7800. And you could use the 2-button, which is the Master System, the 3-button, which is the Genesis 3 button, or the 6-button. And especially that comes in handy if you have a game drive, as I explained earlier. But the best part for you Atari collectors is it uses the light gun. You know how finicky those XC light guns are and how expensive they are. But why bother having to pay those prices when you could just buy a simple Master System phaser, and which is much cheaper, and use that to play the light gun games on your 7800. So we're going to try this with the Genesis Retrobit controller to see if it works. And we're also going to try this to see if it works on the 7800 Plus. Now, as I stated before, this pad that comes with the 7800 Pro is absolutely garbage. 7800 Plus is absolute garbage. And I complained during when I played Bentley Bear that it has nothing like the SNES controller, because the NES controller, you see the buttons are a lot smaller, they're much closer as compared to this. Look at that. So basically you have the second button all the way by the select button. So how the hell can you play it? So now hopefully this will work. And by the way, retrogameboys.com for the win on this one. Because they say it can play all Atari controllers that would work on your regular 78, so we'll find out now if that's true. With a game that would pretty much require it. And again, it's loading the game because it just dumps the ROM every time. And it works! Let's see how much better I play. Oh, much better! Like night and day. Oh, this is fantastic. Say, Atari, I know you want to do the old school way with this ancient controller that was never any damn good to begin with. If you really want to make a good controller for the 7800 Plus, why don't you contact the Retro Game Boys? Because I'm sure they could help you with that. And look at that. I didn't die once. Didn't struggle once. I swam through that level. Just blazed through it. Because this controller is the absolute bomb. If ever you have a 7800, you owe it, because they make a specific one for the 2600. But although this will work with 2600 games, you owe it to yourself to get this controller. Now it's about $50. It takes a little while to get, because he makes them by hand. But it's worth it, because it is, I would dare say, even above the Genesis 6 button with the Mega mode, the Mega 78, I'd say this is the best controller that you could have for your Atari 7800. Bar none. I mean, the Mega 7800 may be wireless with the Genesis 8, the Genesis Retrobit, I should say. But even though this is wired, it's still a really long wire. And you can see, it's only my skill that's holding me back. The controls definitely aren't. And even on the 7800 Plus, this controller is hella responsive. So I can make sudden movements like that and not break a sweat. Not have to worry about nothing. Except the cheap-ass deaths, but that has nothing to do with the controller and everything to do with the programming. Although it's a weird game to be launching with your 7800 Plus. You think you'd launch it with something like, I don't know, Asteroids, Maybe Miss Pac-Man, you know, something along those lines instead of this. Just saying. Alright, so now that we established that the 7800 NES pad works, let's now try the Mega 7800 and see if that works. Okay, we have a retrobit adapter to the Mega 7800, and we're going to stick that into our 78. I'm going to power it on. It's got steady light. And as you can see, the mode light, it shows green. That means the 6 button. But will it work? It clearly detects the controller, but will it work? And see? Wireless. Just so you believe me. Okay. And it works! Okay, so it's A and B. Oh, shit. You see what I mean? Not as responsive as the SNES. Why do I keep saying SNES? Maybe because I was playing it the other day. As the NES controller for the 26. But I don't think it's because it's wired. I think it's more because the Genesis has a circle D-pad and the buttons are a little closer together. You know, like a little bigger, while the NES controller is smaller. So it takes some time getting used to. That's why I recommend the NES controller if being wired isn't going to be an issue. But if you absolutely need a wired controller, I mean, if you absolutely need a wireless controller, I would go for this. Don't at me, it's early in the morning. This came in overnight. But you see, it's working. So if you can, you have two solutions. So you can ditch the crappy pad that came with this console and actually use one that'll actually work. It's almost like when Atari designed that controller in the 80s. They just said, hey, well, the NES crosspad is popular. Nobody really wants to use a joystick anymore. Quick, come up with something. And this is what they came... That piece of crap is what they came up with. This garbage. That's what they came up with. But we live in the 21st century, which means we have options. Many options available to us. And this isn't one of them. Alright. So there's one final test I want to do. Now, the latest update stated that it fixed compatibility with the paddle controllers. And if you've been paying attention for a while, you'll know that Atari actually sells paddle sets. And it comes with a specific game. Well, it's actually a couple games, but you just change the game with dip switches. God, that's annoying. Oh, Jesus. I wonder if it's because maybe it's a little thicker. Compared to the Harmony cart, the Atari boards for the 78 look a little thicker. I think that's what it is. But anywho, let's grab us some paddles and see if we can break some walls. Alright, one final thing we're going to test. This is the paddle set. Now, it comes with a set of paddles and 4 games in 1 cartridge that are decided by dip switches. We have Breakout, which we're going to try, Canyon Bomber, Video Olympics, and weirdly enough, Night Driver. I always thought Night Driver required the driving controller. But you see, there's a cart right on the top there. Comes in the same baby box as Bentley Bear. You can see that. But unlike Bentley Bear, it actually tells you on the back instructions, which is always nice. So, and if you look on the front, by the way, they tell you how to set dip switches for the various games. So we're just going to leave it alone so we can try Breakout. See, that went in no problem, but Bentley Bear didn't. Weird. Okay, so we're going to try to get the paddles out of here. Now, I have used the paddles before, but they're just a bitch to get out of the box. But I guess they expect you to throw the box away, which is stupid because most of the people who are going to buy this are collectors, so that's not going to work. And here are the paddles. And it's the same as the original 26, just a lot lighter. Very, very light. Like real paddles don't clang like that hollow clang. So we're already off to a good start. Now when I tried them in the regular 7800 with the game drive, they were a little responsive, but we shall see. Got to straighten out because there's long wires. Moment of truth time. So we're gonna, this should work. It's a newer 2600 cart. So it shouldn't be a problem. And we have Breakout. Let's see, reset. No paddle on the left. Okay, so the right paddle is what you have to use for player one. Weird. Okay. So give me the ball. Ugh. Let's try this again. It does move a lot slower than the 7800 real one did. Damn. It is moving hella slow. And I'm literally just moving it a little bit because you don't want to move it too much. Because you want to be in control of your paddle. Especially in a game like Breakout. Because depending on where you hit on the paddles, where the ball goes. Yeah, I don't think they fixed the paddle too much on here. Wow. Let's try it one more time. One more time. Jesus Christ. Like, I'm not the greatest at paddle games, I'll admit that. And I have admitted it before, but this is on a whole another level. Because when I showed off the 2600 adapter, I played Kaboom. And yet, the paddles weren't this bad. So they still have a lot of work to go with the paddles on here. Oh my God. I'm the one resetting it because this is absolute ass. I can't with this. As far as because you could tell there's a difference with the paddles on there. Even with the fix, the paddle moves hella slow. Like, I'm moving it at full speed, and it should be moving faster than that. It's just not. Let's see here. Yeah, see, it feels sluggish a little bit. By the way, I think now I know, because we tried to get a review of this unit twice. Once for the Pac-Man edition, because you know they're going to have those special press kits for the every time they do a system launch or whatever. And we tried to get in for the 2600 plus. I'm sorry, not 2600 plus. We tried to get in for the 800 plus. And then we tried again for the 7800 plus. But now I think I know why our calls to get a press kit sort of went unanswered. Because I think by looking at my videos and doing this like basic testing, and because a lot of these YouTubers, they get these consoles in, it's awesome, and this is why. No. Not me. You've seen... Well, not that part, because it's a mess right now, but you've seen all of this stuff that I have out. I'm putting it through its paces. You know, what YouTuber do you know of would have all of this stuff to make sure it works with the 78 and show you on camera? No one but us. Not a single person. Even if I'm by myself early on a weekday morning doing this for all of you, no one would do this. They'd just, do a brief, here's what it can do. Spend like 5 minutes like glorifying the company. I mean, I'll give the new Atari credit. Okay, I will give them all of the credit in the world. They're doing a great job in bringing these games out, because let's be honest, these Android boxes suck ass, okay? But there's no sugarcoating it. But the fact that we're getting new games, official games, for our existing hardware in 2025, and yes, last year is 2024. Getting that is amazing. It's nothing short of a miracle. It's almost like reprinting vinyl or coming out with new home video. Same concept, same stuff. I mean, look at this. We got this in 2024. That's amazing. I'm not understating that. I'm not gonna undercut that. My main problem is releasing crap like these systems. The 7800 plus, 2600 plus, and look, I think I've made it clear how much I want the Pac-Man unit. How much, I went to the trouble of getting a pre-order in. However, after playing this, I mean, I could do either way, because I'm literally getting it for under retail because Amazon screwed up one of my orders massively. So I literally have like a $50 card that I use to take money off. So I'm basically getting it for under retail. So it's no big, huge loss if I get the Pac-Man version and just keep it, boxed, or if I just, display it. that won't be a problem for me too much. You know, it's something that, you know, would be expected. But I'm just disappointed because I do really want to play these games. I really do. Now, granted, it worked with the NES controller, worked with the Genesis dongle from Retro HQ that used for the game drive. It works with all that, but as far as throwing actual carts at it, it's hit or miss. Now, of course, it's going to play these because I'm sure that Atari vets this shit, so this way the games that they put out for their platforms are going to work. But what if you're somebody who either is using this to get into the hobby, and you go to like swap meets and flea markets and retro game stores, building up your Atari library, you bring it, you get excited, you bring it home after cleaning the card, I hope you do, and half this shit doesn't work. That's a problem, especially when a lot of the later 2600 games use heavy bank switching that use 16 and 32K. I couldn't even get an 8K ROM. Not just any 8K ROM, but Hero. One of the greatest games ever made for the Atari 2600. Now, it's not my opinion. It's fact. To the point that it's on almost every single best of list for the Atari 2600. It's one of Activision's earliest masterpieces. Now, I didn't check Pitfall 2. Because I know Pitfall 2 won't work. Because that's another complaint that a lot of people have about this unit. That Pitfall 2 doesn't work. And they were pissed about that. Like, you'd see posts everywhere talking about how it sucked that Pitfall 2 didn't work. And I'm talking while I'm cleaning up the table. But I digress. I'm luckier than most. I'm luckier certainly than a lot of the people that would be buying this. And honestly, I've been an Atari player for most of my life, if not the better part of my life, because my stepfather was huge into Atari. My first video game system was a ColecoVision. So I am well versed in retro gaming. I came up with the ColecoVision. My first major system that I, experienced as a kid was the NES. So I'm well versed. But Atari always has a piece of my heart because of the memories it brought me with my stepfather, with me. But this, I feel bad for anyone picking this up. And this, they see it on sale for $90, like I did. They pick it up. It's their first ever Atari, and it's something that their parents hyped the shit out of. That told them for years, "Oh, this is such a great system. You're gonna love it. I used to play it when I was a kid." And granted, the first reaction out of an adult would be, I'm going to turn the TV off, fuck it. The first reaction of an adult would naturally be, this is what I played when I was a kid. And the kid's like, "Oh, this sucks." But then you have kids like me who, after a while, I got used to it and I loved it to the point that as a near 40-year-old, I play this more than my Switch 2. I'm always playing Atari, whether it's the 26, the 78, the 5200. Hell, I just got done doing that a few months ago. Before my knee fully went out on me. And as a matter of fact, I have something in the works so we could finally put the 5200 to bed and see if it's the parts that are fucking up on the trackball or if it's the Ultimate SD card, because a lot of people are of the opinion that the back bit works just fine. I gave it away. Shit, whatever. But still, I love the 5200. Most people hate it. I love the 78 because the arcade ports. Love the 26 because that's where I play with my stepfather. And have a special soft spots for both the Jaguar and the Lynx. I feel fucking terrible for the kids, the newer generation, that this is their first Atari. And if you watch this after playing the 7800 plus and having that bad taste in your mouth like I just did, I'm sorry. I really am sorry. But please give Atari itself another chance. You know, get a used 2600, maybe get an old TV, maybe get somebody who knows what they're doing. Hell, the easiest way, a little bit expensive, but get yourself a 7800 off of eBay. Get yourself the game drive, so this way you can use the component and the RCA out through the cartridge itself. Get yourself one of these and a Genesis Retrobit controller, and you'll have both the Atari 26 and 7800 libraries at your fingertips. Do it that way. It may be a little more expensive, but I promise you, it's worth it. It's really worth it. And one day, I'm going to sit here when I'm feeling better and just, you know, go over it and shoot the shit and show you how it works. Even at $90, I can't recommend this. And honestly, it's making me, if it wasn't for the collector in me that wants that Pac-Man unit, that wants to start collecting carts, because I do have a legit 7800 to play them on, I would be devastated right now. I would be canceling my pre-order. Honestly, I would be canceling my pre-order. But, and as a matter of fact, I'm probably going to send this back. That's how pissed I am. That's honestly how bad that I don't like it. Because at least the Pac-Man can be a decorative piece for my room. Worst come to worst. But I cannot in good conscience recommend this damn thing. I cannot recommend it to anyone. Now, I don't have the 2600 plus. Maybe it works a little better. I doubt it. But if you really want to get into Atari, I wouldn't even recommend that for just playing quick sessions. Honestly, there's better ways to do it. I would honestly, because if your 2600 is what you're mainly after, get a Retron 77. Because you can play games. At worst come to worst, you could load up ROMs on an SD card and play them that way, because it uses Stella. And Stella is a fantastic emulator. But I can't... Hell, here's a better idea. If you don't want to spend all that money, go out, get Atari 50. Play that. That'll definitely make you fall in love with Atari. But this ain't it. This ain't it. I spent the better part of 2 hours, 3 hours shooting this. You know, trying to figure out what works, what doesn't. I can't recommend this. I'm disappointed. Really disappointed. Do better, Atari. I know you can. You got the resources to do it. And retro isn't necessarily a niche market anymore. Now, I know tariffs and all that shit make it a lot harder these days, but it can be done. You don't need to just stuff an Android box in a fancy case and call it a day. There's people that are doing it much better. Hell, I guarantee you, you put an FPGA in that damn thing instead of Android, make it play 26 to 78, and there's people, those developers will be willing to work with you. I guarantee you put an FPGA in there, you maybe raise the price like $50, I guarantee you people will buy it. and make an FPGA system that plays 2600 and 7800 with high score card built in. I guarantee you, you sell that for $150, $200, people buy it. Because by the time you get a 7800 off of eBay, by the time you pay someone to have it cleaned and refurbished and potentially do a video mod, or by the time you do a game drive where it's like, that's about $100 something on its own, and get all the cables and scalers you need, it's already a bargain. But there's better ways of doing it. And I know a lot of people can say, oh, I'm going long again. Well, that's my channel. If you don't like it, get the fuck out. Because I'm passionate about what I do. I may not make videos too much, especially now that I'm injured, but I care about what I do. That's the difference between me and all these ham and eggers that collect the paycheck, as Bobby Heenan would say. These jabronis, these ham and eggers, these morons that just shill for companies, that just, have fancier production and just are willing to take the product and put it over and collect the paycheck at the end of the day. I can't do that. Not especially for something like this that I have deep in my heart. And I dodged a bullet the first time when I missed out on the pre-order. So I'm going to pack this up. I'm going to send it back. Especially this cart because, you heard the scratching noises. So hopefully a better solution will come along. But until then, Rachel Schaefer signing off.